Hello, and thank you for watching this ag forecast for the Corn Belt. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. We've got a big cold front extending all the way from eastern Canada down through the northeast and then into parts of the southern plains, bringing in much cooler air to the region. We've got freeze warnings in effect all the way from the eastern Corn Belt into the central plains. We'll take a look at that in a moment, but first the radar picture. Just some light showers accompanying that front, not bringing much in the way of soaking rain to the Corn Belt, just some very light showers across parts of the mid-Mississippi Valley into the eastern Corn Belt yesterday. We've got some light showers making their way through parts of the northern plains into the Great Lakes, even some snow showers being reported in La Crosse, Wisconsin, so perhaps some snowflakes falling from the sky here across parts of the Great Lakes here. No accumulation expected, though, over the next 24 hours or so. So here's a look at your temperatures. Again, much cooler on the backside of that cold front. Parts of Illinois and Indiana dropping below freezing last night. Sub-freezing temperatures possible all the way back towards the northern plains. Parts of the high plains of Colorado as well. Generally cooler for just about everyone, though, waking up on this Friday morning. As we talk about precipitation, the pattern over the last 4 to 6 weeks has featured heavy rainfall across the Pacific Northwest. I'll go ahead and switch colors. We'll do that in black. I think that'll show up a little bit better. Heavy rain in the Pacific Northwest with strong onshore flow from the Pacific. We've seen tropical systems bringing heavy rain to the southeast at times. Clipper-like systems have quickly moved through the northern Great Lakes into parts of eastern Canada and the northeast. But by and large, the western U.S. through much of the central and eastern Corn Belt has been left out to dry. We're looking at the 4-inch soil moisture percent of normal value here on October 16th. And again, this really illustrates how long it's been since we had a soaking rain across this region. Now we're finally going to bring in the chance for a soaking rain to part of that region. If I flip back over, well, first just noticing here where we've got the chance for a half an inch to an inch of rainfall over the next 7 days, and that includes parts of Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, and Indiana, northward into Wisconsin and Michigan. So if we flip it back, it's this region right here that we're looking at the opportunity to kind of eat into that moisture deficit here as we transition into the last half of October. Now, how do we do that? We're looking at the jet stream pattern here as we get started on Friday. We've established a big trough across the central part of the U.S. That's kind of step one. We're going to be taking big systems up and over the top of the ridge out west and then dragging those through the northwest into the central plains, eventually lifting them through the Great Lakes into the northeast. So we've got an active storm track right through the heart of the country. And then notably, we've got an area of high pressure across the southeast that's going to be slowly working its way off to the east. Now, as this high over the southeast begins to pivot off to the, I think I said it's going to move to the east, it's going to move to the west, back toward Florida, back toward the southeastern U.S. And so as this high over the southeast continues to move back toward the west, we're going to open up the Gulf of Mexico. We're going to take a return flow off the Gulf, interacting with each of these storm systems as they move across the central part of the country into the eastern Corn Belt. So the response at the surface, again, here's the pattern we've had over the last 4 to 6 weeks. These big crashing cold fronts, these big intrusions of dry Canadian air. But as we head deeper into the early to mid part of next week, again, that surface high slides off to the west a bit. We open up the Gulf of Mexico. We've still got that active storm track cutting across the midsection of the country. That is how you set up a pattern that brings some heavier rainfall into parts of the Midwest. And indeed, as we look at the 10-day precipitation anomaly forecast from the European Ensemble, highlighting exactly that region from the Ozarks northeastward into the Great Lakes. That's also how you get a temperature pattern like this. We're looking at the next 7 days, the temperature anomaly. Again, lots of cold air across the Canadian prairie, making its way down into the northern plains. Area of high pressure across the southeast. That's going to keep warmer air coming into parts of the south into the southeast. And then this region here, this is kind of the battleground. You're going to get cold air intrusions in this region, but then you're also going to get that warm air advection as each of the secondary or each of the subsequent systems comes in on the backside. So you'll get a front sweeps through. You get a big blast of cold air that comes into this region, but then the front stalls out. You get your next storm system to come in here, and then the southerly flow in advance of that one brings the warmth back in. So I've drawn a ton of arrows there, but just to show you that as we go through the next week, the coldest air going to be locked in across the Canadian prairie and the northern plains, the heat across the southwest and at times across parts of the southeast, and then this is your battleground here between the two air masses where we'll be looking for storm systems, fluctuating temperatures, and at times some heavier precipitation. So in the immediate, The hazards across the region, I talked about the frost advisories, the freeze warnings, all the way from the Central Plains into the Eastern Corn Belt this morning. With dry air and some gusty winds, we have to talk about a fire weather risk once again across parts of the Midwest. We saw some of those brush fires starting across Illinois and Indiana during the day, the afternoon on Wednesday. We're going to again see that risk here this afternoon, and then a larger risk tomorrow. So there's already an elevated risk painted across parts of Missouri into Illinois, but all the way across parts of Illinois into Iowa, into Indiana, with these dry conditions and very strong winds, which we're going to take a look at right here with the high-resolution NAM model, especially as we get into Saturday afternoon and evening. That's what I want to kind of get to right here. This is where this next system is going to be coming in. We'll see across parts of Illinois and Missouri these strong southerly winds bringing in warm and dry air across the region. So this is where that fire weather risk is going to be highest as we get into the afternoon on Saturday. So avoid burning, avoid throwing the cigarette butts out the window. You want to just be vigilant around farm equipment. I know we still have harvest ongoing. I'm not going to say avoid using the equipment, but if you got equipment that's, prone to sparking, just be vigilant over the next 48 hours with some of this dry and windy condition. That's really the main story, along with the cold as we get the weekend started. We're looking at the wind gusts maximum forecast here between now and Sunday. So just between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the strongest wind gusts. And you can see the corridor here where the strongest winds are expected. And that's where we're talking about wind gusts anywhere from 40 to 60 miles per hour. And these winds are going to be strongest on Saturday. So a windy start to the weekend before we transition to a rainier pattern across at least the eastern half of the Corn Belt into the Great Lakes, as we head into early next week. So we'll start off with the weekend, looking at our high-resolution NAM model. Here's the Saturday-Sunday system sneaking through. That one could bring some heavier precipitation to parts of the northern plains and the Great Lakes. That's the one that also has the strong southerly flow out in advance of it with the dry air and the fire weather risk. So let's go through this once again, a little bit slower. Again, some of those light showers, some light snow flurries making their way through the Great Lakes as we head through the day today. As we get into the evening, we'll see some rain and snow moving in across parts of the northern plains. This system is going to kind of dive in across the northern plains of the Great Lakes as we head through the weekend. So here's what it looks like as we wake up on Saturday morning. Tomorrow we could see some light rain across parts of eastern Iowa, northern Illinois, getting into Wisconsin, with some snow showers across the northern plains into the northern Great Lakes. This takes us into Saturday afternoon. This is when we'll see those strong southerly winds coming in across the eastern Corn Belt, strong northwesterly winds coming in on the backside across the northern plains. And then we're going to drag that cold front down into the mid-Mississippi Valley and start to get some precipitation going along it as we eventually, again, get that little area of high pressure across the southeast to start bringing some moisture northward into the Midwest. So it's not quite there on Saturday and Saturday night, but as we get into the day on Sunday, that's when we're going to start to see more in the way of measurable precipitation developing across this region. We'll kind of stall this frontal boundary out across the region, and at least have it meandering back to the north and to the south as we head into early next week. And that's what sets up the pattern here that could bring some heavier rain to the region. We'll look at that then when we just hit play on the European model. This will take us a little bit longer into next week. We'll just hit play on the next 10 days here, and you see kind of just the same pattern. Systems shooting out of the northern plains, sweeping into the Midwest, tapping into some of that Gulf moisture and producing some precipitation right across this region. So now we'll jump back. We'll take a look at some of the specific storm systems that come sweeping in here. That first one making its way in on Saturday. This one produces mainly precipitation across the north, across North Dakota into Minnesota and Wisconsin. Too dry to get precipitation going across this region, but certainly with the dry conditions and the windy conditions, we're talking about that fire weather risk on Saturday. Precipitation begins on Sunday across the eastern Corn Belt in the form of some light rain along that front, again extending back across this region. There is the chance we could see a few snow flurries across parts of Iowa into Wisconsin, maybe far northern Illinois, with some of the cold air coming in on the backside here on Sunday evening into Sunday night. Not likely though, but not out of the question. This is what kind of gets the pattern going then. We see another low come sweeping in here as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. Another one that develops here and kind of rides along that front as we get into Thursday and Friday. So Sunday gets the precipitation going, but then it's really as we get into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we'll see that frontal boundary stalled, meandering back and forth across this region. Storm systems riding along that, tapping into the Gulf of Mexico, producing some more in the way of measurable precipitation. So We'll talk about the details, the specifics on each of those storm systems a little bit more as we get closer. I know Eric will have an update on Monday morning. Right now, we're still several days out from this rainier pattern, but we've got high confidence in the ability to talk about that now. We'll compare the European and the GFS side by side here, their ensemble forecast for total precipitation. And you see what's going on here. We get the systems coming in across this region, bringing some Pacific moisture along with them. Then as they sweep into the midsection of the country, we're able to tap into the Gulf of Mexico and produce more in the way of heavy precipitation across this region. So it's dry-ish till we get through Friday, Saturday into late Sunday, but then kicks off an active pattern across the mid-Mississippi Valley into the eastern Corn Belt Monday through Friday of the coming week. We've been talking about some areas getting some cold air, some snow possibilities. I'm showing you the probability of picking up 3 inches or more of snowfall between now and next Friday. I did 3 inches because we've still got soil temperatures that are above freezing. Still got that high sun angle. It's going to be tough to accumulate snow with some of these systems, but if we got a high probability of picking up 3 inches or so, certainly that could translate to a light coating in some of these areas. And where we see the highest probability of that happening is certainly off to the northern plains, northern Great Lakes. I'm talking about the Dakotas and the parts of northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. Now, it's certainly possible in some of these areas a little bit further off to the south, getting down into Iowa, northern Illinois, parts of Nebraska. Some snowflakes are definitely on the table here as we head into next week. I think it's rather unlikely that we see accumulating snow in those areas otherwise. We'll finish then with a look at your high temperatures the next few days. Again, cooler air across the region right now. We'll see some warming across the central and eastern Corn Belt during the day tomorrow, with much cooler air moving in as we get into Sunday. That's what's going to set up the battleground right here then between warmer air off to the south, cold air intrusions coming in across the north. Here are your highs on Monday, your high temperatures on Tuesday. Again, have a great Friday, a wonderful weekend. Eric will be back to kind of take things over as we head into next week, talking about some of the specific storm systems. I'll have another update on the Corn Belt then as we get to Tuesday morning.